Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's the Sunday night show. We're going to be talking about Ollie. We're going to be talking about United. We're going to be talking about Brendan Rodgers to United. We'll start off with that, but it's the Sunday night panel. I got Levin, Beth and Adam. How are we all doing?
Fantastic.
Not amazing.
I'll be honest, I'm actually quite frustrated. I was tricked into coming here. I was told Ricky would be here, so I showed up. I was like, oh, Ricky's going to be here, so I'll come on. Ricky's not here, so now I've just been scammed.
Ricky?
Are we not good enough for you, Levin?
No, you guys are great, but we're talking about Ricky here. I've never done a show with Ricky, no, never.
Right, we'll have to sort that out when he's back. He's on holiday. He's been messaging us. Don't worry. He's been letting us know.
I've got them messages as well. Yeah, kind of avoids the obvious, but yeah, he's still been messaging.
In fact, you know what? It'd be wrong of me not to just read out some of Ricky's messages from yesterday during the match. Let me see if we can find anything. I'm absolutely fed up with people not seeing what I can see, obviously. Bay is shit, can't play football despite being fast and brave. I've said dozens of times Greenwood is out of his depth. No one wants to see it. I promise you I'm not wrong. Rashford is useless. Bruno is terrible. Fred's shocking. Once we get a new manager, I'll be stunned if we see much of any of it. He's very consistent, Ricky, anyway. But look, I don't think he's wrong about anybody yesterday. We'll get into that. But let's start off about where we are with Manchester United at the moment. Very quiet day. United have stayed very quiet today, apart from some misguided tweets from certain United players who should have just stayed away from their phone or told their PR teams to stay away from their phone. But we have had this Brendan Rodgers story. Now, where we're at is that I did the morning show this morning, finished, and then there was this talk of Brendan Rodgers. And basically the story is that Manchester United have verbally agreed a deal with Brendan Rodgers. He'd rather wait until the summer, but United want him now. And that's basically it. It's not really been picked up by any mainstream media or anything like that, but it is out there. We'll start with you, Levin. What's your initial reaction to that? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sacked tomorrow. Brendan Rodgers comes in from Leicester.
I find it hard to believe that he'd leave Leicester. I know things haven't been as good as they have been so far this season, but initially I found it hard to believe. I've seen a lot of people respond negatively to it because they just don't like Rodgers or they don't rate him. I've seen a lot of people who, in my eyes, almost overreact to it. It's all going, yes, Brendan Rodgers, almost like he's the best manager in the world. I think I fall in a bit of the in-between. I rate him. I think he's a good manager. He's well-respected in like the coaching community. People always talk about his training sessions like this. I don't think it's actually true, but people go like, there's no training session is ever the same with him. It's like he will bring a new sort of, idea every single time, and it's this really cool thing or whatever. And he plays good football, and it's nice to watch, and he improves players, and he likes to use your youth players. So there's definitely positives to him. I just don't know if he'd be the right fit. One thing I said a couple of weeks ago on the channel is a lot of managers, people want someone on the pedigree of Tuchel, Pep, Klopp, right? But what people don't realize is a lot of those managers only ever get to that pedigree because of what they do with top clubs, right? Tuchel was well respected and was known as a good manager, wasn't considered on that level until he won Champions League with Chelsea. Similar stuff with Klopp. He was well respected, people know he's a good manager, wasn't on that level. Brendan Rodgers has had the chance to do that, right? Where he had a spell at Liverpool and he did bottle the league or whatever, and he didn't do bad. I wouldn't say he failed, but he's had a chance at a top club and he still wasn't established on that level. And so that would maybe be a concern for me. But I don't think he's bad. He's better than Ole. And at the end of the day, some people say that's the only goal, right? Just something better than Ole, which I don't agree with particularly, but he is better than Ole.
Take Neil Warnock, couldn't we? He's free. He's better than Ole.
Well, yeah, why not? Take Steve Bruce. Anyone?
Yeah, I think I think Brendan Rodgers are probably on the same page as you, Levin, as well. I mean, I think that is it the manager I want? No, but I think some of the disrespect, Beth, has probably been a bit unfair because he was a Steven Gerrard slip away from winning the league. And we all know that as United fans because we celebrated that slip like winning the title because it was literally that moment that stopped Brendan Rodgers being a Premier League winner at Liverpool. And everything would be very different if that happened. And I said it earlier as well. I mean, there's a lot of positives to talk about with Rodgers. And just to remind people, he basically was the Graham Potter of his day. At Swansea, he was brilliant. He went from Swansea to Liverpool. He very nearly won a title. He's gone to Leicester. He does develop youth. He does play a good brand of football. And I think at Leicester, they call them bottlers. I'm not convinced they're bottlers, Beth. I just think it's a limitation of the squad he's got. They run out of steam because he doesn't really have a big squad.
think with Rodgers, it's one of them. I said it in the group chat earlier when we were speaking about it. I think he's a good manager, and if we got him, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be angry. I wouldn't be overly excited. It's one of them where it's in the middle of me. I think he would be a good appointment. I don't think he'd be a great appointment. I agree. I think with Liverpool, he's very unlucky not to win the league. He went on, he did really well. And then he came back and he went to Leicester and he's done really well with that Leicester team. And that Leicester team absolutely love him. At the minute, he's not doing amazingly with them. He's not doing great. But obviously, every team's go through a bad spell. And he's been very unlucky with injuries. He's been unlucky with all sorts of things. But I think the way he plays football is very good. I think, like you said, the way he develops youth is good. But with Brendan Rodgers, for me, I don't see him coming into United. I don't see him winning the league. I don't see him winning Champions Leagues. That's just personally my opinion. And I think if we're going to get rid of Ollie and get someone else in, I really want it to be someone I see as the future. I see who's going to take this club to the next level, and I'm 100% on board with them, and I know they've got the potential to do it. With Rodgers, if we sacked Ollie today and got Rodgers in tomorrow, I would be happy. I would be like, oh yeah, that's good because Ollie's gone. I think Rodgers would do well with the squad. But say if we got someone like Ten Hag, I'd be overly excited because I feel like Ten Hag has got the potential and has got the ability to do what Levin said, come into a big club and get the respect he deserves and potentially go on to be one of the big names, one of the top managers. Do I think Rodgers has got that ceiling to go on to become a Pep, a Tuchel, a Klopp? I'm not so sure. Do I think he's a good manager? I do, but like we say, we're Manchester United. We want to have one of the best managers, and that's where I want to go to next after Ollie because I mean, after this, we deserve something really good. And I just think Brendan Rodgers could be okay and not absolutely amazing, which is what, as Manchester United, we should be aiming for.
I take it if I said to you, Ollie gets sacked tomorrow and Brendan Rodgers is the manager by tea time, or otherwise you stick with Ollie till the summer, you'd take Brendan Rodgers?
Yeah. I think anyone with the right mind would do that because what I saw yesterday is just, I can't go to Old Trafford every week and see that. I just can't keep doing it. It's honestly like torture.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, look, Adam, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, on the one hand, people are like, Brendan Rodgers worries me. He looks like a sort of manager that he comes in. All the ex-players know Brendan Rodgers. It gets familiar again. Could he be a bit of a puppet to the Glazers? But on the other hand, we're hearing that Man City are actually quite seriously looking at him as a replacement for Pep.
Yeah, I think if he rolled into town at City, he would probably find it a lot easier than rolling into Manchester United. That's what I see it. I mean, the situation is very, very difficult for United now because we let Conte go. I think Zidane's removed himself from any conversation. I don't think he's ready to come back into management yet, alone into the pressure cooker that is United. So obviously anyone's talking about anyone because they're fed up of Ollie. It's very difficult. I bring it back to, like I said at the start of the season, I need to be challenging for the title. Will Brendan Rodgers be able to take us to that level? No, I don't think he would. Not saying he's not better than Ole. Obviously, he is. But again, it's like Levin said then, Beth touched on it again after him, elite level managers. Conte is that elite level manager that's gone. You could say that Zidane is, although he's never been tested anywhere else but with superstars and Galacticos at his disposal in Spain, which is a crap league. No disrespect, but it is. And I'm looking at Rodgers. Jesus Christ, God, I'm nearly calling the Brodge already there like he has. But Brendan Rodgers, I think everyone's just literally taking anything they can get because they're sick of Ole. That's where they're at with it right now. I think that's where a lot of United fans are. When I reposted the United Stand post on Instagram, everyone came back to me and said, no, they don't want him. We're sick of fighting for fourth in the league, which is where they think he'll take us. We want to be challenging for the title, which pretty much is what we all said at the start of the season. I don't think United fans have had the wool pulling over their eyes this time. I think they're actually saying, look, even if anything improved a bit, it's still not where we thought this squad of players should be at the end of this season, challenging for the major trophies. And Rodgers, even though he's better, he's not where we wanted to be after finishing second and having a squad as good as we've got. So Rodgers, I don't think he'll go to City either. I really don't. I think it'll be someone else. I do believe that he would find it easier at City than he would at United, though, because it's settled. Everyone knows the role. I think the players will have respect for him. But at United right now, like I said, it's really awkward because we've already let Conte go. So I think anyone's just clutching on to anything they can right now. Because like Beth said, you can't go to Old Trafford week in, week out watching this crap and the humiliation that is being a United fan at the moment. So I think everyone's just sort of jumping on the nearest thing they possibly can. It is an immensely difficult situation. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm going like that. We need to make sure that this appointment's right above anything else, because we can't just bring anyone in. This is it. As desperate as we are to get Ollie out and know that he's not good enough, can't just be jumping at anything that's going to be possibly half available or available. And it's horrible. I don't think Ollie's up for it. I've said it now, like all of us have, but it has to be the right appointment. I don't think Rodgers is the right appointment. I'm going to be honest.
I'll tell you what, the interesting thing is about Brendan Rodgers, I was just checking there, he's 48. Now, if he came into the club and did well, you get 20 years out of him. Also, everyone's obsessed with like Sir Alex Ferguson and what Sir Alex Ferguson did at this football club. And what he did at this football club was unbelievable. There is no manager in Aberdeen breaking up the Scottish League and winning, European trophies for us to go and get. But there is a manager in Brendan Rodgers who's managed Liverpool, probably learnt a lot, gone to Leicester as an underdog, won an FA Cup and consistently been in the top 6. He does develop youth and he does play an attacking brand of football. I'm snobby. I want Zidane. I quite like the idea of a Ten Hag. I quite like the idea of Ranić coming in and, rebuilding the club, which I don't think the club will allow anyway. But I'm not closed off to them. I'm not closed off to Brendan Rodgers. And what's happening with me by the hour is the same thing that happened with Conte. I never wanted Conte. And then Conte wanted the job and we'd lost to Liverpool. And I was like, you know what? This has got to be better than Ollie. It might work. And look, we're talking about a Leicester manager that wasn't even asked the question after the Leicester game. I don't know how reliable this story is. It's probably a load of bollocks, but he is the favourite with the bookies at the moment. And he is a manager that is proven in the Premier League, and I'd 100% take him if it means getting rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I don't know, But then on the other hand, Levin, I could see, I said this a couple of weeks ago, so people will know, I could also see Brendan Rodgers a year from now sat in press conferences with a big sad face and is going, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, look, I think there's some people who maybe are, like I'm seeing people in the chat, for example, going, he's an average man. I don't think that's giving him enough credit. As somebody who I've seen him and I've seen a side that very much play, a really good brand of football. I think one thing I really credit him with, is his ability to be maybe a bit more flexible with a squad. Whereas I think there's some managers who are maybe better managers than him who would come into this situation and maybe be a bit stubborn where they're like, I just don't like this player. I'm not even going to bother with that. Right. Whereas Rodgers, I think, has shown almost a flexibility where he'll try to find the best possible option to maybe get the best out of certain players. So, you associate high pressing with Brendan Rodgers, right? And his teams do press very high and they're very good at it. And I think some people would go, oh, so what, would you not like, this whole narrative around Ronaldo? So would you not like Ronaldo if he came in? Whereas you look at what he's actually done with Vardy, where Vardy's numbers in terms of defensively dropped off quite a bit, and he still found a way to sort of make that work and make that effective. And I think Rodgers is the kind of guy who would probably come in and do the same, where I feel like, he'd very much get a lot more out of this current iteration of the squad than maybe some managers who potentially are better than him would. And I think that's important because a big problem we're going to have with any manager that comes in, assuming Ollie's sacked, is this squad doesn't have the basics. A lot of the basics that a top manager will want out of a squad, they don't have, right? And so typically what you have is a preseason, and preseason you get that done. And it's the reason why I think Conte will probably have a bit of a slower start, right? Because he doesn't have a preseason to get the basics into that Spurs side. That's rubbish. And I think any manager coming in will have the same problem. So what will probably happen with any manager that comes in is they're going to have to teach the squad the basics. It'll take a while, and people almost just going to like, oh, this guy's not enough. And we will get what you're talking about, Mark, where people will go, this guy's not the man. Oh my God, you United fans that wanted him. What were you on about? He was rubbish. So I really think that the best way to go about things is almost having an exit plan until summer. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but United needs to find a way to
hate
get
it.
to summer without Ollie. I don't think, not with Ollie, but they need to find an effective
I'm
way.
on board now.
Yeah. Now you like it. They need to find an effective way to get to summer where they can evaluate their options and give any new manager that's coming in time to work with the squad. Because I think any manager that comes in now and is seen as the long-term manager it's not going to be a good situation.
Well, Evan,
it can become toxic really quickly.
You're probably the best person for this. Talk to us about Ralf Rangnick. Because I know bits about him. And I know that he's sort of like the Don in relation to Klopp and Tuchel effectively. And he's one of these sort of mastermind European sort of director of football. And he's got a rich tapestry in football, etc. And he was mentioned by Christian Falk. Now, everyone's in for, some people are falling in love with the idea. They don't even know what the idea was 24 hours ago. Some of them will actually know who he is. I sort of operate in between, and maybe Beth and Adam does. But I know you like this side of football. And I saw your tweet last night. Is this just bullshit, or is this actually viable? I suppose Christian Falk saying he'd like to do it, and he said 2 months ago he'd like to do it. He would come in, provide a bit of a structure, and look long term to be the director of football, and then bring his own manager in.
Yeah, I can sit and talk for 50 minutes about Ralf Rangnick, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try keep it somewhat brief. You're right. He's seen as one of those football geniuses. Very much has mentored and influenced some of the best managers in world football right now that people would say, I want that guy right now, right? Which is obviously a great sign. He is more of the kind of person, I think, now that you'd maybe want determining the overall direction and structure of a club. I feel like he'd do a job in management. Like if you told him, right, to interim until the end of the season, then pick a manager you want, I think he'd do a great job of that. But in terms of picking a direction to go in, he'd be excellent for that. He would absolutely do a job. There's videos on YouTube for anybody that wants to know more about him. There's a video on the coach's voice where he's talking about literally just sort of how he'd structure a club. And if you just think about it in the context of Man United, you'll be sitting there licking your lips going, wow, I want this. Like, please come to our club and do that. The main problem you have is, would he get that sort of a role? They just made Murta football director or whatever. They've just rechanged the structure of the club. So would they allow Rangnick to come in and be at the top and control everything below? Probably not. If they did, though, I do think that'd be our best option, 100%. I think he's brilliant at that, and he'd implement sort of a philosophy and an actual idea into this club that I feel like it's been lacking since Alex Ferguson, and that is more important than I think anything right now.
No, I mean, look, I don't profess to know everything about it, which is why I'd asked you about it. And I think that, but you hit the nail on the head. They're not going to let it happen because they've got Murta, who's mates with Woodward, who's mates with Arnold. And I wouldn't be surprised. We're going to talk about Ollie in a moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if we sack Solskjaer and keep Carrick and McKenna and Phelan and pretend that it's all on Ollie when we all know it's not. The jobs for the boys continue. It needs clearing house. And look, I would like Rangnick at Manchester United if he was given the interim and then he's allowed to be a director of footballer and then he's allowed to appoint his own manager. That's the sort of new structure United that you would want, and I think that would be very, very interesting. But it sounds way too confident for me. Let's talk about Ollie for a bit. Go back to you, Beth. You were at the match yesterday. What was the atmosphere? What was the atmosphere like? We asked Adam this last time. A lot of people talk about that Red Army section that's just singing all the time, and Ollie's at the wheel. Did we get any of that yesterday? And what did you feel about the mood in the ground afterwards? And also, what do you think is going to happen with Solskjaer? Do you think we are going to wake up tomorrow or at some point and see him be sacked?
Well, when I first got into the ground, for starters, everyone was already down. Everyone thought, oh, it's going to be a hard match today. Everyone I was talking to was like, oh, what do you think? Yeah, probably going to get beat. So no one had confidence going into the game purely from the back of the results that we've had. I've sat with people who have been Ollieing since the start of the season. Well, we're still Ollieing at the start of the season. Completely gone the other way now. Just the people that I'm sat with, like you wouldn't even think to go the other way, but they are. When we started the game, I mean, the crowd. The only time it was really, really positive was literally just before the game as it was starting. But then Ollie killed that mood off with the way he set out to play. So defensive, so on the back foot, so scared of the opposition. And I think the crowd sensed that. They tried to get behind the players, but then you're only going to take so much. And then it went very, very quiet. the City fans got louder and louder. They were absolutely rinsing Ollie, rinsing us as fans as well. And it's embarrassing. Like, what can you really say back? Because everything they're singing is true. I mean, it is true what they're saying. So it is completely embarrassing on your home turf to have City fans singing that. And then the worst part about it is, obviously, there's boos going in for half time. That has been the same old thing every week at the moment because of how bad we're playing. Then we come back out, you get behind the team again. But there was no Ollie at the wheel songs from that section that I could hear, and that's the first time this season that's happened. There were more singing songs for the players, like Donny van de Beek was a big one throughout the stadium, and obviously when Fred came off and he came on, that was a massive cheer. And for me, singing Donny van de Beek for that long, and then when he finally comes on, that massive cheer, that was a little bit of a sign from the crowd to Ollie, like a little bit of a dig at him, and I think he would have realised that as well. For me, I was like, if I was Solskjaer stood there, you'd be like, right then, so the fans are really getting on my back now. Then after the game, everyone was so deflated. I saw people having arguments outside the ground. Everyone was just deflated because this is what we're seeing week in, week out. I didn't hear one person say that they want to keep Ollie. Everyone was saying we have to get rid of him. Everyone was questioning the way we set up. And everyone was saying that it's the worst football they've seen in literal years. That everyone I was speaking to, people literally stood outside of Old Trafford discussing this game for at least an hour after the game, just because he couldn't get the head around how bad it was. And honestly, I feel so. I mean, I only come from 20 minutes away, but people that travel, I saw someone travel from America to watch that game. Like, people travel to come and watch Manchester United, massive fans, and they come. And you know what? You don't have to go out there and win, but go out there and put in a fight. The players need to put in everything, and you've got to have a game plan. Ollie knew that fans were travelling there to go and watch the Manchester derby, and he literally completely bottled it. He went there to get a draw at best, a 0-0 at best, because we're never scoring a goal with that formation. And if he thought we were going to, then he's even worse than I thought he was. And I just think I lost a lot of respect for Ollie that game, because I thought it was really disrespectful to the fans to make them come to the ground and go and watch that when you knew exactly what you were doing. It's just trying to hang on to your job. That's all it was.
Yeah, you know what, I think, just before we go to Adam, I think that's a great point. I think that, you know what, somebody travels from America to watch Manchester United. Somebody gets up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning in India or wherever to watch Manchester United. And it is disrespectful to the fans, and it is disrespectful to the club. And I think Ollie's been afforded so much loyalty and sentimentality from fans, myself included, up until 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure all of us as well. And some people still do cling on to that. And he rewards that by sending a team out in a Manchester derby at home in front of the world to basically, as I said, walk out with white flags and say, we're just going to park the bus and try and get a draw. I actually felt it was worse, Adam, than Liverpool. I thought Liverpool, all right, he was stupid, but he did try and attack against Man City. I mean, first 15 minutes at Old Trafford, we're brought up on getting the crowd going and, bubbling it up. He took the water, he tipped it down the sink, turned the oven off and went to bed. It was like, there was no excitement. It was an early night from Ollie. And, he has willingly just walked into this scenario created by the Glazers where they should have sacked him after Liverpool. And basically, he's a manager. We're not Manchester United. We're Solskjaer's survival club. He's basically selfishly trying to save himself. And I was appalled by that yesterday. And I, like Beth as well, I was watching the fan forum after my match reaction. I had Sky on as well, because I just needed to listen to as many different people and find out whether it was just me that was totally appalled by it. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a shit show, really.
Mate, you said it there. I mean, when anyone speak to loads of people, I had them all on the fan vlogs yesterday. Beth said it there. You just said you used a lot of what I said yesterday, Mark, there, in terms of it was worse than Liverpool. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a very, very selfish man right now. You just mentioned it then. I can't remember, so I had India, Canada, America, Ireland, all four corners of the globe. We were at that game yesterday. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does not care one bit about them. There's only one section of the crowd that he cares about, and that's to his left. That's it. They're facts. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about what people are watching around the world or who's traveling from where. And he set out the team that way yesterday. He's selfish, and it is literally saving his job and thinking for himself game by game. Do you know what I mean? It's like the way we set up there, the way he's talking at the moment, the fact that he's letting Victor Lindelof decide if he's fit enough to play on the day of the game. We're hearing that Marcus Rashford has been ill again, but he's still giving him game time through the week. All these things, playing Edinson Cavani while he's injured and knowing that he's injured against Atalanta, then he misses another derby, which he's still not played in yet.
It's unbelievable.
This is all Ole putting a team out there that he thinks can probably get him through one game week by week by week. And he's absolutely, he's forgotten about the youth setup. He's forgotten, like you said, Denmark, he's got no idea of anything else but himself in terms of how he's going to go forward with this team. It's game by game. We're not going to see any progression from any player now. It's survival at the best. And the fans yesterday were saying exactly the same. You're saying there you wanted to listen to everyone and make sure that it wasn't just you who was just absolutely blown away by this. It was the same for everyone. Everyone's laughing and joking, mate, because it's gone beyond crying and feeling down. Everyone's laughing and making their own entertainment. It's like I had a couple of people on the fan vlogs yesterday saying to me off camera, it said, I'm just laughing now. So it's that comical that a club of this size are in the position we're in with Solskjaer, that I can't do anything else but just laugh it off now, because I mean you can see it in the pundits as well. The only pundits I listen to are ones that are not related to United now, because they're the only ones who are talking sense. I think Keane probably just about clinging on at the moment. I think even he's given up. But I think Michael Owen was the only one yesterday who pretty much nailed it for me. Micah Richards obviously talking sense, but when Michael Owen's absolutely putting Gary Neville in his place just by what he said, then you know there's something wrong with inside the club. Solskjaer right now he's lost the fans, that's definite. He's lost the players, that's 100% definite, because what we've seen yesterday, we'll probably get into that in a minute, but what I was listening to after the game pretty much backed up the performances on it. Yesterday, it pretty much, like you said, put the white flag out for me. And that is an absolute disgrace. Even the players, they didn't have any self-pride in what they were doing yesterday. And it's like I said again, Jadon Sancho, there you go, mate. 2-0 down against one of the best teams in Europe. Go and show me what you've got now, son. Cheers, mate. Donny van der Beek comes on, gets the ironic cheers. I think it was probably more to the fact that Fred was going off and Donny coming on was part of the cheers. But that was the only celebration we had yesterday. Other than that, people were just entertaining themselves. The game was dire. It was absolute dire in our part.
I'm not going to lie, in the second half, genuinely, I think I fell asleep for like a minute, like that. Like that's how bored I was.
No lie.
And because there was no noise at all, because everyone, like Ollie had drained the life out of players. He's drained the life out of the players, but drained the life out of the fans as well. And the worst part is, and this is why I'm losing my respect for Solskjaer now. Not only is it so tactically naive to go with 3 centre-halves basically sitting next to the goalkeeper when they don't even have a striker, and then completely leave the full-backs open when we know City play
the 7-1-2.
Yeah,
we played the 7-1-2.
You don't even have Scott and Fred are poor in midfield as it is, yet you leave them on their own. You don't even push Shaw and Wan-Bissaka up. Not only does he not change it, lastly, Eric Bailly's had so much bad treatment through Solskjaer, and he brings him off at half-time, basically saying, look, your fault, basically pinning it on him. And then you bring on Donny and Sancho, who can barely get a minutes in an Aston Villa game or an Everton game, but suddenly against City, it's like, now I need you. This treatment for me, as well as his coaching and his tactical ability, which I know now, after watching that City game, I've known it for ages, but that City game was the worst of the worst. He genuinely went into that thinking that would work, and anyone with a footballing brain knows that would not work against City. So that was clear that he has no direction in his coaching or his tactical whatsoever.
This is what I said to Ricky.
Players, he's throwing them under the bus, and it's unfair.
This is what I said to Ricky. I said, I understand the formation, mate, but like I said to you last time, we are not Chelsea.
He doesn't put
we have not got that manager that can get that system across. It's pointless bringing up Chelsea and how it works for them, because we haven't got Tuchel and we haven't got their bunch of players at the moment. And that's why it doesn't work for us in these big games. It's just out of sheer desperation. Like Beth said, then the way he threw Eric Bailly under the bus, this was a man who saved his job, in my opinion. And the only reason that he's not gone already was because of his performance against Atalanta, single-handedly keeping us in the game. This is the guy who kept you in a job because your number one player, Harry Maguire, was all too willing to throw you under the bus. He pretty much threw Ollie under the bus in his interview afterwards later, but I guarantee you the first name on that team sheet when it comes up against Watford, if this Muppet is still in charge, and I say it like that now, I don't mean to be horrible, but this is just how he's making me feel because of the way he's treating these players, is Harry Maguire. He'll be coming out, first name on the team sheet. Absolutely no responsibility at all for how he's been playing. He just gets picked every single week. Eric Bayer, he scored an own goal. He was unlucky. Yeah, I understand he's rash. But the only chance Eric Bayer's got of proving himself is by having a run of games in the team and letting him settle in. It's like Ricky says there, he's reckless, he's rash, he's brave, he's crap. It's a load of bollocks.
I'm sorry, but
the man needs a run of games.
Was worse for me. It was worse.
The man needs a run of games. That's it. You cannot judge a player unless he's had a run in the team. And Eric Bayer, again, he's going to get sacrificed. The fact that he's giving Lindelof the last-minute judgment call when Eric Bayer is fully fit there after the way he played the other night is a joke on its own. Absolute joke. And we knew it. Everyone in the crowd said it. They all said at half-time, we've seen Jadon Sancho come out onto the pitch. Everyone went, Eric Bayer, Eric Bayer, Eric Bayer. Everyone was talking, said it's Bayer. He's off. Without even knowing, bang. The fans know it. They know exactly what he's doing, and that's why they've fallen out of love with him, and that's why they've had enough of him, because they can see people like Eric Bayer and that performance he put in midweek go absolutely unnoticed with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and that is the problem that he's got right now. And this is what I said the other week against Tottenham, why I didn't get carried away. I said, he's still not going to be able to manage this squad and keep everyone happy. And when chips are down and we go behind in this formation, we'll see what he does. But straight back to 4-2-3-1, game over.
It's favourites FC because, I've had it up to the back tee. I mean, it's amazing that Beth actually christened them McFred, and you've got Martin Tyler calling him McFred for the last 2 weeks.
Everyone's using it now.
It's ridiculous. But I've had it to the back tee for them. I've had it to the back tee for them. But the favouritism, it is ridiculous, and we're fully aware of it. I mean, Levin, I want to ask you, I think, and I might be a little bit naive here, but because I can't, he's now lost the fans in the ground. He'd lost the fans on social media. He's definitely lost the players, whether it's willingly or they're trying, but his tactics are so shit they can't do it for him. So he's lost the players, he's lost the fans. Even another example today, David Moyes, West Ham at home to Liverpool, beats them 3-1. It can be done, yet they beat us 5-0. This everywhere you look, there is just no reason not to sack him. What do you think the club are going to do? Because I don't think it was ever going to happen today. It's Sunday, it's the day off, whatever, but he is back tomorrow training the team. And if that happens, it's not going to happen, is it?
Look, I said it on the show last week. He's got the Infinity Gauntlet. He's got all the stones. He cannot be sacked. He can't be stopped. He's invincible. I don't think the club. I don't know what the club are going to do, Mark, because I want to give you an answer that represents a competent club that makes great decisions, but that doesn't seem to be what we are, and it's not what we've been for quite a while now. So if it's anything along the lines of what the club's been doing of late, they'll just keep him in until, at the very least, summer. And that, to me, is a nightmare, because you're running into so many problems already. It's already become very, very toxic around Solskjaer, and as much as I don't think he's done a good enough job of late, he doesn't deserve that, right? We've seen what happened with Steve Bruce, right, where he's talking about how that affected him. I just want Ollie to be gone so he's out of this situation now, because as much as we have to talk about him and where he's going wrong, there is also plenty to be said about the people above him, right? And I think at the very least, once he's gone, people will then refocus their attention to the people above him, and we can have more conversations around that. He just needs to be gone, but I don't think the board are going to do it.
Do you not think that conversation should be going on now? Because Adam's spoken about it. You've just mentioned it there. I think I said it this morning. It is now. Solskjaer probably doesn't realise this, but he basically is just a bulletproof vest for the Glazers, because they're the ones that we should be talking about, and they're basically holding him up. And all that's happening is that this club legend that everyone likes is becoming unlikable. And that's just human nature. People are trying to resist it, saying, I don't want to be horrible to Ollie because I like him. but he is the barrier to this football club that we all love being good, and it's very obvious. And he needs to be out of that position as soon as possible, Evan. And also, if he's going to be here till summer, how toxic is that going to get? Because all right, we might beat Watford, but we won't beat Chelsea. We might beat Palace. I don't think we'll beat Arsenal. We might go on a run of 3 or 4 games, but then we'll get hammered at Anfield.
I'm fearing that Palace game as well, mate.
Yeah,
I'm fearing the Watford game. I'm fearing the Watford game. I fear every game that we go into, and that's the problem. Like, I don't want to sit here every week and be so drained and say how much I want Ollie not to be the manager. And like he said, the longer it goes on, the worse it is for him. I'd rather it have just ended after the Liverpool game, and you go, "Thank you for everything you've done." We move on, but it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And in a way, like Mark, you've said it a million times, he can't sack himself, and you're going to stay in the job if they're not sacking you. And he just isn't up to the job, and it's unfair because he's going to get criticised every single week, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's going to get worse and worse for the fans. And that relationship that the fans have had with Ollie is just going to go more and more toxic, and you don't want that. You want it to end on a good note. Sorry, you're not good enough. Thanks for what you've done. Goodbye. That's all it needs to be. Dragging it out longer and longer and longer. It's just it's the worst case scenario for everybody.
I think that's why I actually like the whole Norwich Daniel Farke thing. I think it would have been sent anyway, right? Because we're coming to international break and they got to switch over. But the fact that he got to leave on a win was great, right? Because at least the fans in his last game, the fans are cheering him, and he can say his goodbyes, right? But like you're saying, with Ollie, it's just going to get work.
How ambitious is that as a football club that's at the bottom? They win a team that's probably going to be a relegation battle, but they've already made up their mind. You can win 4-0 and you're getting a sack. It's like, the Glazers were on their knees yesterday. Anyhow, 10 goals disallowed by VAR and we nick it off the referee's arse. That'll do. You can stay in a job.
I think for me, Mark, the scariest thing is just like thinking about if he, he always mentions this like good communication he has with the club, right? So if he actually is really safe and really like no matter how bad the results get, he like knows like he's good because he's got a good relationship with the board. It's going to get really bad because Adam, you mentioned it before the show. With other people, like with Mourinho, it was getting like you could see the relationship between him and the board was what was like sort of going, and then it almost just makes sense. It's like they can just get rid of him, he can move on. It's cool, but with Ollie, he's not going to do that. He's not going to kick off about the board. He's not going to really complain and blame other people. And all that's just going to do is just make people hammer on about him. Like if he's getting questions and he's going, yeah, the board are great. We have a good relationship. People are going to hammer him. So unless he moves on, it can only get worse for him at this point. And that's the thing I really fear now.
That's it. You know what my biggest fear is? This is what hit home more than anything else. Harry Maguire, I can take with a pinch of salt. Listening to him in that interview, I like Harry Maguire. I think there's a defender in there. I really do. But the fact that he said what he said in that interview afterwards, and then someone asked Ola in the next interview saying, "Did you hear?" And he went, "Did they say that?" And I was like, "Okay," but that was bad. Yeah. But what no one's picked up on, and my biggest concern is Bruno Fernandes and what he said. Now, Bruno Fernandes to me looked like he'd given up yesterday. And that's a massive, massive concern for me because I know this guy, even if he's not running the right areas, his effort's always there. And then he backed it up because he said in a tweet afterwards, or whatever it was that he put out, he said, look, they've come to town today and shown us that we're nowhere near. And that for me was just like, that sort of cut deep with me because I know Bruno Fernandes and he's always come out and said, we're here to win things. We want to do this. He's seen Ronaldo, his idol, come to the club this summer. He's seen Varane come in, a serial winner. And for him to come out and say that City have come to our own ground and shown us that we're not on anywhere near their level, that hurts because that for me is the shining light that we've had over the last season. And I've seen his performances drop and drop and drop this season. And I've said this all along. This is what Manchester United do to players. They'll either make you or they will break you. Managers or players. Bruno Fernandes is dropping to a level which scares me. He's going down. He's being dragged down by this football club to a level that I didn't think was possible. I didn't think he would get there, but I'm watching his performances now. And unless someone else comes in, he's losing these players. Bruno Fernandes, for me, is a player on the pitch right now that does not believe in his manager. I don't care what anyone says. And you can go to as many bonding meals as you want. That's just Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting all the players behind him and keeping everyone happy. Because when you go out on that pitch and your home fans are booing you against your biggest rivals 2 weeks in a row on your own turf, nothing hurts more to a player, or nothing hits home more than that to a footballer. And I'm seeing that in Bruno Fernandes right now. And he's lost the players. That, for me, yesterday, Bruno and what he came out with afterwards, I can always... Body language is one thing, but for him to actually come out and say it afterwards, that was what I took to heart more than anything else yesterday. I'm thinking, wow, this is the guy who gives absolutely everything. Even if it's not brilliant or his passes aren't on point, he at least gives 100%. And he wasn't yesterday. He wasn't. And I was like, oh, God, now we are in trouble, because Ronaldo stormed off down the tunnel again, didn't shake anyone's hands. And now Bruno Fernandes coming out after the game, Maguire saying they didn't think they had... was it desire? I didn't think they had it in them to compete.
Belief,
I'm like,
said, I think.
That's a captain, and one of your best players is shining lights are coming out after the game, and all he's saying he can still turn this around.
Well,
Come on.
how do you expect the players to think when Ollie sets them up like that, and obviously has told them to play
Exactly.
like that? But
This is
that's
where he's
all he's
lost
saying.
it.
That's all he's saying to them. I don't believe you can go and beat City. So it comes from the manager, and what do you expect? Then the players are so low on confidence because they think, oh, our coach thinks we have to go and sit back and basically let City come on to us at home at Old Trafford. And you could see the minute they stepped out on that pitch, they were scared. They were just scared not to get battered. You could see it. And you know what? Another thing I've noticed, the players don't look like they're enjoying it. It just looks like they're trying to get through the 90 minutes and then go home.
Well,
And it's like we were saying with Bruno, when he first came to United, he was smiling, he was enjoying himself, he focused on his own game, and he was so good. He was telling people what to do, but he was all positive. Now when I watch him, he looks like he's so angry. He looks like he's upset. He looks like he's not enjoying his football, and obviously it's affecting his game, because personally I still think he's a brilliant player, but he's obviously not in the form that we know he can be. And this is the problem, because the manager's attitude and the way they go about it reflects onto the players, because that's what a manager does. And Ollie, I think the way he sets up the players, chopping and changing every week, it's just had such a negative effect. Not using the subs, they come on, they have no confidence. And then the players, when they step onto the pitch, knowing they're basically putting the white flag up against City, of course they're not going to think they can go and win, because Ollie's set them up in the way to say, basically, lads, I don't think you're good enough, so try not to get battered. That's the way it is.
Well, I don't know whether you saw it at the game. I'm sure Levin did as well. I know you want to say something, Levin, as well. Very early on in that game, when De Gea was making save after save, one of the saves went for a corner. Ronaldo comes back, and it's the same as what we saw a couple of weeks ago. De Gea and Ronaldo looking at each other, and Ronaldo just going, you don't often see that, Levin, do you? And it's in front of all of us. And you can tell what Ronaldo's basically saying to De Gea with his eyes. It's like, this is fucking shit. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, to link in what both of you guys said, the players don't look like they know what they need to do. And that's a big issue, because obviously, you'll get that when you change the system, right? Players, obviously, there's going to be that sort of a buffer where players maybe don't necessarily have an idea, but it really was worrying. And maybe it just shows so much against a team like City, who their players are so good that, yeah, they have their system that they play, but when it comes to in-game scenarios that maybe they haven't prepared for, the players can just adapt and do the right thing. And, an example, right? Wan-Bissaka, we obviously know that he's going to be in one-on-ones against Foden non-stop, right? Because of the way a five-back works. He's going to be in one-on-ones. But he didn't seem to know whether to press, when to press, whether to drop off. He didn't seem to know, whether he had to keep in line at certain times. And it just meant that Foden really just sort of exposed him. Schroeder and Cancelo would have 2-on-1s against him. He didn't know what to do. And it's like, look at that going, the coach yourself should have been able to prepare you for what you would have had to do. That's the one thing you would have known. You would have been in positions like that. Whereas on City's side, we had that free in the midfield. It's very compact. It's hard to play through the middle. All you just saw was their 2-8s, De Bruyne and Gundogan. They would just drag a bit wider. And so they'd go wider, drag our whole midfield over, and they just switch to playing an attackers. And you're like, look, I don't know if you prepared for that, but even if you didn't prepare for that, the fact that you know to do that, the fact that you can adapt in game and you have almost, it's just like problem solving, isn't it? It's like the players are so comfortable in the system that they're playing in, and they believe in it so much that no problem that gets in front of them phases them. Whereas with our players, it doesn't seem like anybody really knows what it is that they have to do. And that's really scary because you can't enjoy your football. If you're on a pitch against some of the best footballers in the world, against one of the best managers ever, and you don't actually really understand what it is you have to do in your position, how can you have fun? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you literally can't. So
you nailed it then, Levin, mate. Pep Guardiola's interview afterwards pretty much said it. I didn't have to make a substitution because it was so comfy. Oh, dear God. Oh, my God. That tells you everything you need to know. The fact that City weren't tired because they were in second gear walking around United, didn't have to make a substitution because it was so easy.
And it was raining as well. You know, it was pissing it down with rain. It's hard to pass the ball accurately when it's raining. And there was a couple of times in that second half, and I'm thinking, oh, Atalanta, Villarreal, if we get the one goal, the crowd will roar, we'll suck it in. And Ederson had the ball about 5 times. And I thought, it's taking the piss. Like, we can close him down. And someone would run and close him down, and he'd just go, dink. And then it'd go, dink, 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 all the way through, up to the other end. I was like, we can't. They're just taking they're not stressed at all.
Yeah.
You know, 45 minutes, Manchester Derby, it's raining. We're attacking the Stretford end. And their keeper's like, come towards me then. I thought he was going to do a little bloody Rabana or whatever it is in a minute and just, start taking them on himself. It was just...
Exactly that, mate. What was it? 90 minutes till we actually got a yellow card or made a tackle in anger. That, for me, says everything you need to know. Again, it's like the fact that they weren't getting angry about what was happening yesterday is a total down tools and I've given up. Levin touched on Aaron Wan-Bissaka there. He said the coaching staff should be able to teach you how you can play that position. And then that goes back to what I said to Ricky last week. I said, yeah, I agree with you, mate. That formation works for Chelsea. You've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his merry men who have not got the capabilities to teach that formation when he's been so reluctant to even try anything different. All of a sudden, go and throw Wan-Bissaka under the bus. Also playing alongside him was Eric Bayer, who hasn't played all season. So Wan-Bissaka, who's not used to playing at wing-back, gets Eric Bayer on that side with him, with Phil Foden, one of the best players in the world at the moment. It's like, are you not looking at this? Are you not building up to this? Your coaching setup, Ollie, and looking at everything that there is. The most dangerous player is on Wan-Bissaka's side. And yeah, one-on-one, he's great. But when you isolate him and you've got a fullback in Cancelo coming up behind him as well, he can't tackle 2 people. And he was completely isolated. The only thing that kept Aaron Wan-Bissaka sort of up there was the performance of Luke Shaw, because he was just twice as bad. And that guy is a massive concern for me because his body language is one of, I would not pick him again because he's an absolute disgrace right now. His body language, it really is. He's doing my head in right now.
Is not.
Who Adam?
Luke Shaw.
Shaw.
Well, I was like, who?
Luke Shaw's 100%. We know. I mean, we don't know him personally, but we know how things have gone in the past, and he's 100% given up on Ollie and this process. I've seen it for the last few weeks now, but the worst part was, oh my God, when they conceded that goal, he just didn't even look bothered. He was like,
he shrugged his shoulders.
He told Maguire, I think he had to go at Maguire, and then he just shrugged his shoulders. He is completely gone with all.
I think it's dangerous with Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw looks like he's out of love of football. I think it's that. Yeah. I just think.
Do you know what, Mark,
last
on that,
year,
mate?
You've got Roberto Carlos giving him credit.
Yeah.
And everything's great. He's had a short turnover. He's come back. And I just think I feel sorry. I like Luke Shaw. I've always liked him. But I can't defend a player who's playing bad. And he is playing bad.
On that. You said it there. Sorry, Beth. You said Luke Shaw there. I think it's deeper. I totally agree with that. And Harry Maguire as well. I think he needs a timeout. I think he looks like a ghost. He looks like I'm looking at him. He just looks like he's forgotten how to play football or how to enjoy playing football.
I've met you in real life. You do the gym, right? The last season started at we've not met like that.
I was gonna say
we've not met like that. Anyway, and even if we did, we're happily married men. Nothing like that would happen.
Social media clip incoming.
There is a clip incoming. But the reality is, won't get flustered. What I was going to say is that the season last season started in mid-September, so it started 6 weeks later, didn't it? Yeah. And we played 3 games a week, every week, until the end of May, and then we went into and then they went into the Euros, and then he's had 3 weeks off. I tell you what, I don't think, and Luke Shaw didn't get injured last year, I don't think. and he didn't get rotated with Telles, definitely not. So he's played 3 games a week for basically 8 months. Got into the Euros, which would have been emotionally draining to lose a final, especially when he scored a goal in it. A little break and then back into a demanding season. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by Luke Shaw and even Harry Maguire. I'm not surprised.
Same, isn't it? It's like, look what Pep's done with, say, a Zinchenko and a Cancelo. Do you know what I mean? You've got good enough players there. That could have been a Telles and a Luke Shaw. You could have had an Eric Bayer and a Harry Maguire. He's absolutely burnt them into the ground. I'd be taking Harry Maguire to the doctors to get tested. I don't know. I just feel like he's lost. He looks like a worried man. His interviews are soulless.
When he came out yesterday, literally when they came out the tunnel, captain of Man United and Manchester Derby, he came out looking sad. He looked to his right. He did a little clap, and then it just didn't look.
It's like he's fallen out of love with the game. He really does. He looks like a man who's got things on his mind. Like I said at the start of this stream, there's a player in Harry Maguire. I know there is, and I know he loves the football club, but sometimes you need it taken away from you. You need the responsibility taken away. I do feel like and I think this is where Ollie's worrying, if he takes the captaincy away from him, that he will just fall into a black hole and it will just totally destroy him. But sometimes, we said it the other day in jest, it was like, has he got the balls for the big calls? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? And honestly, this is a massive one because I think he's ruining players right now, Solskjaer. I think he's destroying them, and I don't even think he realizes he's doing it because he's that driven on his own selfishness of trying to keep his job. That it's just everything's just coming to a crescendo now, and he literally does not know. And like I said, the body language of them all, they don't give a toss. They really don't. They know they've lost, and they know they're not going to be able to do any better than what they did last season. It just says everything you need to know there in Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw and how they can be so good for England and be in the team of the tournament and then come to United and look completely night and day. And I'm talking horrendous defending. It just looks like they have completely given up on this season already. And maybe a man coming in, another manager will change things up. But I do agree with you. I do think they're burnt out completely. I don't think they really care at the moment. I think they've fallen out of love with the game. That's how it looks.
I think there are a lot of our squad. Sorry, I was going to say a lot of our squad are massive, massive confidence players, and that confidence is completely shattered.
Yeah,
it's shattered with all of them. Like we saw last season, even though we weren't playing amazingly, obviously it was a lot better than this, and you could see they were giving each other instructions on the pitch. Harry and Luke Shaw had a very good relationship. Everyone was telling people like they just looked like positive vibes. And then like you can see that at West Ham at the moment, their squad is so together and the really, really close squad. You look at that yesterday, everybody when anything goes wrong, the arms go up in the air and they're all blaming each other. It's very angry and it looks very, very negative, and everyone looks downbeaten. And the only way that can change is through the person that's leading him. I don't think you can come back from that once it's completely gone and the dressing room's gone and everyone's down. It'd be very hard from the person that led them down to bring them back up. In my opinion, I've not really seen it happen in football, and I just think it's going to get worse and worse.
On the TV, Mark, did you happen to see? I've not seen it on the highlights, but when the halftime whistle went, everyone walking off the pitch, I've said this in my matchday vlog, that every one of United players walked off on their own, like 11 individuals. City walked off in half teams. They were actually communicating and talking like a team, like Beth said, a togetherness that's there within that squad, that each man knows the man next to him. Right now, we look like we're a bunch of players that have just been thrown together that don't know the next man from Adam. It's like they don't train together. This whole bonding meal thing, I don't know how that went down, but I think that was all just photoshopped or put on for the cameras because they look like they're just a bunch of individuals who've never seen each other before on that pitch, and they walked off exactly the same way. There's no togetherness at all in that team.
Well, it's like, look, we were talking about it before we went live. I'm sure some people have seen it on Twitter. Harry Maguire put a post out on Instagram and on Twitter, basically saying something along the lines of, we're hurting like the fans are. We're working as hard as we can to get back. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I don't regret it. And I basically said, that's just a copy and paste from every other defeat. You clearly don't understand what this club's all about, because you can't just keep saying to fans, sorry, we're going to try harder. It's not, Roy Keane wouldn't do that. He'd come out after the game and say, we should have bought a midfielder in the summer. He would. He used to do that. So, but I then saw Gary Neville tweet something, probably the best thing he's tweeted in weeks. And it wasn't actually his opinion. It was a video of somebody else who is something to do with Manchester United's social media, who actually stupidly did an interview. An American guy, nothing wrong with being American, but he's an American guy. If you want to see the clip, it's on Gary Neville's Twitter feed. And he basically sits there talking about Manchester United social media, which it sounds like they run. And what he said is something to the words of, we'll monitor the algorithms on social media. And when we can see that things aren't going quite well for the club or the player, we'll put something out to counterbalance it. And Gary Neville quite rightly said, what is going on at the club? It's like they're robots. Now, I feel sorry for fans that think club players actually tweet their stuff. Like, there's been countless times when I think Rashford or Lingard have tweeted stuff and they couldn't have done it because they're actually on the telly at the time, where they're playing or they're at something. This is not new news, but the players will obviously get pissed off with the fans who have a go at them. And maybe they don't like the United stand at times because we have a go at them. But trust me, the fans of this football club, whether it's us here now or anybody who's watching it, all we want is for Manchester United to succeed. And you are in bed with the enemy. Ollie's in bed with the enemy. The Glazers are the enemy of this football club, because we're nowhere near where we used to be. And if you've got social media people monitoring algorithms so that you can tweet something that will send it the other way, it's just, they're so out of touch. And the club is completely out of touch. And I just don't know. I mean, that was going to be the question, Beth. Is he getting sacked tomorrow in your mind? Because it just has to happen. The players have lost it. Like Adam says, the fans have lost it. Everyone's laughing at us. What reason is there to keep him in a job? I struggle to find one. I couldn't find one after Liverpool, but I struggle to find how we can't wake up tomorrow and he's gone.
I struggle to find reasons, but I struggle to find reasons for a lot of things the board and the owners do at this club. Honestly, nothing annoys me more every time I think about it. Why do I have to support a club that has this terrible, terrible ownership? Like, they've made awful decisions in the past, but God, just open your eyes. I mean, I don't know how. Generally, I don't know how he can survive this, but in my personal opinion, we've not heard anything. I do think he's going to stay in a job for another week, maybe. I'm not sure. This would be the perfect time to sack him because it is the international break. I mean, it should have happened weeks and weeks before. It should have done. Should Manchester United's board sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? 100% they should. Will they? I have absolutely no faith, because anything I want the board to do, they always do the complete opposite. And this is the problem. Anyone that's going to come in, they're going to have absolutely no help from what's above either. And that's the thing. I want nothing more than that whole board to just be gone, wiped out, see you later, because everything they do frustrates me. I mean, there's talk coming out that the reason Ollie's not being sacked is because Ed Woodward doesn't want his last move to be a sacking. God, how selfish can you get, and how stupid can you be? Who cares what Ed Woodward's last move is? Nobody has liked you at the club for the years that you've been here. You don't need to leave on a positive note, because there is no positive note. And the people on the board at that club are the reason why we're in the position that we are. Alex Ferguson covered it up for a long time just purely because he's the best manager that there's been. But no other manager is going to be able to cover that up. The board needs to go, but before they go, which they're not going to go, they're the people you can't remove. They need to start making the right decisions, and you know what? That's when they'll figure out I know they're making a lot of money now, but that's when the money will start rolling in, because the fan base will grow, everyone will be happy, fans will be buying stuff, etc., etc. Because obviously, all we know that they're bothered about the money, but to start that off, Ollie needs to go, because the one thing about that football club, that the most important thing is the fans, and the fans aren't enjoying the football. The fans can't see any direction. The home fans that are coming to the game are getting frustrated. The people that are watching it on TV are getting frustrated. Everybody, and I mean everybody, knows now that Ollie cannot handle this job. The only ones that aren't saying it, the people that aren't saying it on TV, I think even they know deep down and probably saying it off TV that he needs to go.
We've got a quote here. We've got a quote here, Adam, which you can react to, and Levin as well. I don't know where this quote's come from, but it's on Instagram from 9 minutes ago. It's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
I've seen it. Yeah.
I don't know whether this was after the game or he's put it out today, but it's a very worrying quote. We understand everyone's frustration, but the boys and the staff will do everything they can to get us back where we were. A front foot positive attacking Man United. I mean, it just
we've heard this every week.
Doesn't matter. Do you know what you talked about money there, Beth? 23,000 likes in 6 minutes is where they're getting money from. That's what you're going to get. That's what it is about this. That's what the owners on this football club is. We can be on a front foot and play more attacking football. Yeah, against the team that's in the relegation zone next. It's so easy to say that, you cowards. Absolutely pathetic. That's what that is. Yeah, we're going to go on the front foot this week. Yeah, it's Watford, mate. Nice one. Yeah, cheers for being brave. Yeah, what about the Derby? What about Liverpool?
About
what
Chelsea
about putting
the week
a post
after?
out? Yeah, what about putting a post out celebrating that we're top of the group in a crap Champions League group? Come on, City, Liverpool, Chelsea celebrating actually putting the feet up because they're already through, and we're posting about being top of a crap Champions League group.
How are they? I mean, you know what, Adam? Just to think about that, and I want to come to Levin on this as well. We know that it was very close to the sack after the Liverpool game because there was a meeting. I mean, Fabrizio Romano even did a pre-record video ready to go live that he'd been sacked. And I think we were all expecting that. And by all accounts, there was people on the board who wanted to give him a little bit more time. We've had 3 games since then. Sir Alex Ferguson was rumoured to be one of those people. We've had 3 games since then. In those 3 games, we beat a very poor Spurs side. We lost to Atalanta, but at the end of the day, Ronaldo bailed us out. And then we got absolutely humiliated by Manchester City. What? Just reported Man United let his post for false information. What a joke. I don't know what you're on about there, mate. So, you know, what is the justification? What could anybody, Sir Alex or anybody, be saying I mean, it's unprecedented. We've said this before. There is no previous scenario. I mean, Villa have sacked their manager today. Norwich did it last night. Spurs did it. There's clubs with, you know, clearly switched on that they need to change it way before we do. I just don't know. I don't know what we do from here if they keep him, because he won't win. I mean, the next few games are Watford away, Villarreal away, Chelsea away, Arsenal and Palace. Like, we're not going to win all 5 of them. Levin, do you want to go?
No, sorry, I thought Adam was going to go. That's sorry. I was just
sorry. No, mate.
Look, it goes back to what we've been saying. There isn't a clear direction, and I don't think they realize how valuable that is to us as fans. If we just sort of had an actual idea of the direction we're going in, and something made sense, you know, I think a lot of people would at least be able to somewhat be content and you know, go to sleep knowing, you know, the goal is to get to here. We don't have that, right? They say, oh, we want to play the front foot attacking United, but nothing about what we've tried to do signifies that, right? And this is the issue I have. So look, there's nothing you can do. I said it on the fan forum. What? Are they going to give him 3 more games to save his job? What? There is nothing you can... If you're at the stage where you're having to contemplate whether your manager should be staying in a job or not, that's a sign he shouldn't be in the job. Like, it's really as simple as that. And I think it's very dangerous that we're just going to continue to see this happen where it's like, oh... Because you're right, Adam, right? Oh, let's say we do play good attacking football against Watford now. Yeah. Cool. It's Watford. Like, I wouldn't expect anything else from any competent team in the Premier League. So I don't know if they realize there's nothing they can really do now to satisfy people other than just move on from what this chapter of the book is, and that is by moving on from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
It's like we said, Matt. Remember when we were in this position before the last international break finished, and we're all there, and we had the games laid out in front of us: Leicester, Liverpool, Spurs, City, with Atalanta in between. And we was all saying, what we're going to take from this? What can you see being good enough for Ole from this? Well, I think I said that we'll be out the top 4. And as long as the Champions League games went his way, he would probably still be in the job. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, mate. And it's a worry because that post there that you just read out, along with the one that I just mentioned in terms of celebrating being top of the group with 7 points from 12, in this crap, worst Champions League group ever, I think pretty much confirms that right now they were playing a time game, hoping that everyone was off the table to make it virtually impossible to bring anyone in or talk about getting rid of Ole because there's no one else to bring in. I think they wanted to see what happened against Spurs because they knew what would happen, and Spurs were in a pretty dodgy situation. They all talk, don't they? We all know that Woodward and Levy, they all have this sort of communication, and they have to with the Premier League and everything like that. So Woodward would know that Spurs were under a lot of pressure. But I'm looking at Spurs who were having a better season than us, and they sacked their manager. United were just playing the waiting game all along. And yeah, they're banking now that, there's that game. The one I was saying we didn't have in this group of games, that easy game. It's the get out of jail game for us. They've got Watford coming up. What they don't realise is that, I said it before as well, I tweeted out, I said, it's not like easy games are coming up now. Everton and Villa, with weakened teams, have already been to Old Trafford this season and taken points off us. This team is playing shit every single week. It's just because the quality is getting better and better. Are we seeing results like this now? This is where we're at. For me, I just think they're hoping. They're really hoping that they can get one game in. I said it all. I think if he stays in the Champions League group, I think he's just going to scrape through. You know what, mate? It does look like that's what's going to happen, and it's insanely disappointing.
Well,
I'm absolutely fed up with it.
It's not even the start of November. We've been talking about this since the Liverpool game, which was the middle of October. And if he does survive any longer, as I said, it took me a long time to be Ollie out. I'm not coming back. You know, we can beat Watford, we can beat Brentford, we can beat Norwich. I'm not coming back. So, you know, this season was not about fourth place and shit football. It was about a lot more than that. I expect him to be sacked tomorrow morning. It wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't sacked tomorrow morning, but it's not going to get any better. And I think what will happen is that, you know, maybe we'll win against Watford, we'll draw against Chelsea, and people will say he's turned a corner. He's got no right to turn a corner.
Drawing against Chelsea, I don't think so.
What's scary though is if they go out and sack him tomorrow, that really does just let you know everything you need to know about the people above him. Because let's just, based off of how they are, I don't think that they plan on going out and buying a manager out, right? That's going to have its own cost that we know how stingy they can be. And so I doubt that's going to happen. So what, you're going to go for someone who's going to come in on a free and whatnot? If they go for anybody who isn't at that level of a Conte or whatever, they just look infinitely more incompetent than they already did. Because what, you mean to tell me, you just missed out on Conte, and it was only after that City game that you thought, actually, yeah, now we can't do this anymore. They would just look so foolish. And a part of me thinks that even plays into the decision making. It's almost, you know, some of the optics, right? I think they care a lot about the optics and the way things are perceived in the public eye, right? You know, Ed Woodward not wanting to go out with his, you know, his last thing being done is him sacking a manager. You know, we don't want to allow Ronaldo to go to Man City because that makes us look bad or whatever.
But you know that, just Levin, because I'll forget. That I'll come back to you. Have your thoughts on this? You know that Ed Woodward thing? I heard Gary Neville tweet about it. Beth's mentioned it. You've mentioned it now. Ed Woodward doesn't want to go out sacking a manager. I couldn't give a shit what Ed Woodward wants. It's selfish. Ed Woodward doesn't want to finish his job at Manchester United sacking a manager. Daniel Levy sacked Nuno 3 months after he appointed him. Is anybody saying Daniel Levy, string him up, throw tomatoes at him? What a prat. Nobody is doing that. They're going, fair play. He made a mistake. He sacked his manager. He's brought Conte in. Ed Woodward, I couldn't give two shits whether you want to sack a manager or not. Do your bloody job. You've not done it for 8 years. Actually, if you sack Solskjaer, I'd actually say, bloody hell, well done. You've actually done what you should have done. Now piss off. Don't be involved in appointing the next one. But, you know, the selfishness that runs through that football club to the detriment of everybody else really does wind me up, because we're all victims in this game. And I mean, sorry, carry on.
No, and you know, it's fine. I do want to say that the one big confusion I have, like from the very top at the sort of Woodward level, Glazer level, is I don't get what do they want? Because we all know, yes, they use the club as a cash cow, whatever. But it's like
fourth.
It's like I don't seem to understand what it would be. I don't want to say easy, but it would be relatively easy for them to make us like a very good football club, right? In terms of for us to be an effective football team that is consistently challenging. So I don't get what it is that doesn't just make them go in that direction. They could put the people in place who have a proven track record of making and building great football clubs. So it's like, why don't you? Like, I really would just love to get any sort of insight into, you know, why haven't you just gone out and gotten the best, you know, chairman you can possibly get who will make the football side of the club excellent? Why haven't you done that? Like, it doesn't ever make sense to me. And the fact that Woodward's going out and it's like, oh, we'll just get Richard Arnold, and it's like, Richard Arnold, that's a very sort of similar appointment to Woodward. Are you happy with the way the last 9 years have gone? That you're just going to go with the same sort of approach to appointing a new chairman? Like that to me is what's really scary. And that to me is what makes me constantly say that I feel bad for whatever manager will come in next after Ollie, because as good as they may be, it'll be a lot more of the same, because it's just like the people above them really don't seem to have it out to be a good football side. And that is worrying. So
what they want, mate, what they want is, it's like people were saying to me today, it's going to take you to give up your season ticket, people to stop going anymore. I said, well, no, that's not right, because as soon as I leave or give up, someone else will come in and spend more money. They want the American franchise. It's why they were spearheading and why they're secretly praying that Juventus, Barcelona and Real Madrid win their Super League battle. This is where the Glazers want Manchester United. They don't want repercussions. They don't want the threat of relegation. They don't want their finances being tested. So they're happy if fans give up their season ticket, loyal fans like me and Beth who go every single week. They'd be happy for us to give up our ticket, because they'll get someone else in who'll just spend more money in that seat. That's what it is. That's what they want. They're praying for their American football franchise system, the American way. That's what they want. And the Super League was their holy grail. And the fact that it's failed, they will just come back and say, look, we've put 1.2 billion into the transfer market since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Yeah, you have, but you had Ed Woodward dealing with that money. And a lot of people will say, yeah, you've spent that money wrongly. If any club got 1.2 billion over a 10-year period, you would say there had to be a little bit of success for that. But then it brings into what your point there was, Levin, in terms of who is actually in charge of that next level down, which is where most of the problems have come about. Because if you give, like, Ollie's average, 130 million a summer, or something like that, since he's been in charge. That's more than enough for anyone to make a decent team out of, especially with the youth structure that we've got. And this is the youth structure now, which has been thrown down the garbage chute with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And as long as he's there, the players that are in place now as well are going to start dropping away. He's talking about leaving a legacy, and he's built the foundation for the next manager. You just said it then, Levin. Cavani's gone in the summer. Ronaldo's got another year after this one. Martial, Pogba, Lingard, Donny, Sancho might start kicking up a stink. It's going to be left in more of a crap hole than when Ollie started it with. If he goes now, there's half a chance of someone coming in and salvaging a lot of these players. I bet we'd see a big turnaround in players. And this is why, you said then, Levin, this is why I can't understand the thinking of the Glazers right now. But then again, I'll go back and I'll say, well, actually, there's no one football related or understanding football in a higher role at this football club that would look at it that way. And that's why we're in this mess that we're in right now. It's come to a point where Solskjaer was the last throw of the dice and they put everything on him and it's failed. So now it's panic stations now. And I don't think anyone upstairs at Manchester United honestly knows what to do next right now. And that's where we're at, I think.
I think that's a great point.
Just a minute. There's a bit of a story coming out from Simon Stone, who I've mentioned on this show before. A lot of people are saying that Ollie's staying because of Simon Stone. I've read that article while we've been live. He doesn't commit either way. He says that despite comprehensive defeats, there is still no indication that Old Trafford are looking to make a change, and that Solskjaer is going to remain in post. That doesn't mean he's not going to get the sack, of course. It doesn't mean he won't not stay either. I think some people are trying to make out that it's been decided that he's going to stay. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he was going to stay, of course. But sorry, Beth, I did interrupt you there.
I was just going to say, I really want to know the people who are in charge of sacking Ollie are the people that actually run the football club, if they actually have been watching Manchester United for the past few weeks, because it looks like they haven't. Obviously, it's not even about the losses at this point. Obviously, that is a major part of it, and that, I mean, when you are losing this many games, you're going to be under question. You're going to come under fire. But I wish they were watching it, because if you watch the performances week in, week out, it's not even like we're just losing or we're just drawing. We're playing horrendously badly. Worst performances in the league at the minute. Genuinely, we don't have a play style. If they watch that City game, he would be sacked tomorrow. I'm convinced they don't watch it. On top
I don't think
of
they'd
that,
understand it if they did watch it. I think that's the problem.
on top of that, the longer it goes on, top four.
Like I said to you when we walked out,
when
we walked out yesterday, Beth, when I was talking to you outside, and I said, look, Norwich have just sacked a manager whose team's in better form than United in the last 6 games. And that, for me, blows my mind. I'm just like, I can't believe this.
But
you know what?
I need one.
You mentioned the Super League, Adam. You mentioned the Super League. And the reality is, look, fans are going to fall out. I've had a load of shit the last 24 hours. It's always the same stuff. It's always the same thing that gets leveled towards you. And it's like, I'm bored of it, really. I've had it for 6 years. I'm not, it is what it is. But the thing that really makes me sad is that the problem is, like you've mentioned, and Levin's mentioned, and Bess mentioned, and people are mentioning in the chat, Aston Villa have acted like a football club. Norwich have acted like a football club. Tottenham have acted like a football club. We're not a football club. We're a business. And we're going round and round in the circles as a fan base going, why don't they watch the game, this, that, and the other? It's because they act like a business. Somebody just mentioned the Dallas Cowboys there. They're a huge franchise in NFL. They've not won the Super Bowl in like 20 years or something like that. They run us to make money out of us. I did a video 2 years ago, and I was doing a funny clip where I was like, standards, I'm getting squashed. It's true. The standards of the football club are dropping. And unfortunately, the thing that really got me angry was the Liverpool game, where I said, if you can lose 5-0 to Liverpool at home and not get the sack, that's a new low for this football club, because in the future, we'll go, well, Ollie lost 5-0 to Liverpool at home and didn't get the sack. That should always be an instant sacking. I'm pretty sure Gary and everybody and Roy and everyone, when Mourinho got beat by Liverpool at Anfield 3-1, they went, enough's enough. You can't do that. You can't get beat 3-1 at Anfield. He's just lost 5-0 at home to Liverpool. That's the new standard of United. You can lose 5-0 to home. But not only that, 2 weeks later, Man City can roll up. You can walk out waving white flags and get passed off the park, and you can still keep your job for that as well. Over the last 2 weeks, the Glazers have done a lot at this football club, but over the last 2 weeks, and every fan should feel like this, over the last 2 weeks, they've lowered the standards of Manchester United Football Club to that of Stoke City, where you can basically be embarrassed in your own backyard by your 2 biggest rivals, and the club will come out and go, we go again, we're working hard. I cannot believe how low the standards are, and I don't care what you think of me, United Stand, or anybody else. That is something you should listen to, because the standards at this football club will never recover from what this board has done in the last 2 weeks. They've basically said you can get humiliated. Rival fans can be at other games singing Ollie's at the wheel, and we still won't sack him. We can play useless football with favourites and basically ruin careers of people like Van der Beek, Martial, Lingard, Sancho, Tellez, and everybody else, and we'll still keep him. And that, you can only explain it because we're not a football club. We're just a business. We're set up. We're a bloody pyramid scheme. We're a bloody, we're a shop that says we sell computers, and in the back of the room, we're bloody doing something illegal. It's all a front to make money off Manchester United, and it always has been. And it really, really pisses me off, because the standards will never recover whilst we are acting like this.
No, it's like that. You said whatever, everything else that they've thrown under there, I'll add the youth system to that as well. Because it's like I said back when we played West Ham United, 11 changes, not one youth player. Because we're clinging on to players like Phil Jones and all the crap, and Deadwood, scared about losing players on a free transfer, giving them stupid contracts when they're not going to contribute one bit to the team this season. How can United make 11 changes in a Carabao Cup first round and not have one youth player in that team? That is an absolute disgrace for this football club. The fact that we've had to put in a load of what I call reserves or second string ahead of youth players, give them that opportunity, that chance. Not only that, they think it's good to bring youth players into a match day squad. Then they don't play on the Friday or the Thursday for the under-23s because they're in the matchday squad, not playing games. Amad Diallo, prime example of this, was the back end of last season. You're just killing careers. You're absolutely destroying careers. It used to be a time when you got signed up by United as a youth player that it was a holy grail. It was everything. Right now, we're seeing the shift in balance. I mean, I know a lot of young kids who are going to the likes of Burnley, Everton, and all these teams ahead of Manchester United because the treatment's absolutely shocking. There's an arrogance about this club and what it is. I think it was Nicky Butt who said it, where this club just expected players to come.
I'd love to know why Nicky
this
Butt
club
really left the club, not the PR answer, the real answer.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Sorry, go on, Beth.
I was going to say, the way the club's run in general, I mean, the owners shine through top to bottom. I mean, when they're handling your season ticket, when they're handling tickets over the phone, it's complete. It's
they don't want to know you.
Surface, but also as well, the way the women's team was treated, absolutely disgusting. Because that's the way that the club are. I mean, the manager of the women's team literally walked out because the conditions were that bad at Manchester United. This is Manchester United, and because obviously the women's team don't make as much money, they don't care. It's all money related, and it's so sad because I'm sat here listening to this and I'm sat here thinking, God, this is really, really, it's just sad that the club you support.
The reason we wanted Solskjaer to succeed is because, yes, he knows what the club's all about. We all fell into the sentimentality. We wanted him to succeed because he knows what the club's about. I'll give him that. And it was like, to be successful as United manager, you've got to do it in defiance to the board because they don't understand what the club's all about. So there was this big hope around Solskjaer. If he can be successful, he knows what this club's all about, and it can be great. Unfortunately, despite scoring one of the most famous goals we've ever scored, he doesn't play the youth. He's got favourites. He doesn't pick the best team. He plays shit football, and he's nigh on useless. But the harsh fact is that the fans have been mugged off. They were protesting, they were making progress. The Glazers were crapping themselves, sponsors were crapping themselves. It looked like we were finally going to get change. They pulled a meeting, which he pulled up in a bloody Zoom call, Glazer. He promised, I'm going to rebuild the ground. He promised we're going to be more communicative. We've just been through. I think it was Andy Mitten tweeted it, and he said he'd been walking around Manchester and he spoke to a fan who had been going since like the late 50s and said, this is the worst it's been since the mid 60s. Now, whether that's over dramatic or not, that just shows you what some people are thinking at the moment. So United have gone through some of the most humiliating times we've had in the last couple of weeks, and the club haven't communicated with the fans at all. We're having to live off the blue tick brigade, who are journalists who the club will load with information. It's arrogance. I mean, all I ever hear is that Ed Woodward's a very arrogant man, and it's his way or not. I've never met the guy. He'd never have a chat with us because, God forbid, you could have a chat with the biggest Manchester United fan channel. But, by the by, I'm not bothered. But the reality is they're so out of touch. They're so arrogant. They've run the club into the ground factually. And unfortunately, as a fan base, we've been sleeping on it. We've slept on it. We'd rather argue amongst ourselves than actually unite for what is really important. I don't mind people disliking people in the fan base, but get your club sorted, then have your arguments, because the club is a bloody mess. And the sad thing is, Levin, tonight, how probably 99% of the fan base is just waiting for him to be sacked, and a handful of people are probably not going to do it.
Yeah.
That's a sad thing.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem as well, Mark, is the fact that this has been happening for so long now that they've almost created this environment that will just almost continue like this, regardless of who it is, whether it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or John Smith. They've created this, they will deny it, right? They will deny it. It will hurt them to think that they could have ever possibly done this, but they've very much been influential in creating this culture now where people just will never be satisfied. People will never be united. People will never be happy. And a lot of it just comes down to just simple communication, right? And the arrogance you speak of, sort of, that unwillingness to be open to people. We're a massive fan base. Manchester United is the biggest fan base in the world of any team. But talk to these people. Of course, we're humans. People have different opinions. That's okay, right? I can sit on the show and say to Mark or Adam or Beth, I don't really agree with what you're saying to you, but fair to you, right? But at least we can have a conversation about it. We can have a dialogue about it. That doesn't seem to be, even on the cards or on the table possible right now with the club. And, you know, it's a shame because I feel bad. I've said this multiple times. I just feel bad for whoever's next, right? Because they could be the greatest person in the world, but things would not sort of go their way. And there's just not much they can do about it because the system that they're in, it's just not good. The club's a mess right now. And, you know, we always go, we're Manchester United. And it's almost become a meme now, right? Just say, oh, yeah, you're just going to say we're Manchester United. But there's merit behind that. When you don't become the biggest club in the country, you know, and just off of vibes, right? You know, that's not a thing we have to, like the other day when we hired, I think it was like a director of data science or something along those lines. And like people were getting excited, like finally, like, you know, maybe we're going to start to advance and develop as a club. And you sort of look at it and go, hold on a minute. Why haven't we done? Why is it only now that we're really catching up to other clubs who have been way ahead in things like data and, you know, our facilities? Like you look at what are the three clubs? Is it Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, right? In women's football, who are literally just like way ahead of everybody else, and everybody else is just trying to, you know, catch up to. And you think, wait, why aren't we in that conversation? Why aren't we there? Like, why aren't we football's leaders in everything, right? Clubs all over the world who are trying to structure a football club should look at Manchester United and go, this is a model for how to do things. This is a guideline for how to do things. It's funny, I'm going to link this back to Ralph Rangnick because I think an article came out on the United Sun website about Ralph Rangnick, and I think in 2019, he was linked to the job, I think before Ollie, and he was asked about how he'd fix United. And he even was like, you look at ever since Fergie's left, they've just gotten signings wrong, right? Just the recruitment, right? And that was something he highlighted as just being poor. There's so many levels in the club right now that you can look at and just go, that's not the standard of this club. That should never be the standard of this club. And once again, somebody has to take responsibility. Like people have to take responsibility, and it doesn't feel like anybody ever has. And, you know, Woodward's going to leave and, you know, get away scotch-free or whatever. Next person will come in. There'll be a similar person to him. You know, things aren't really going to change. There's no urgency to get to a good place, right? They say it to us. They go, yeah, we want to get back. We want to be a better standard. But there's no real, you know, they've never done anything that's actually shown us that they really mean what they say. And that's why people get really frustrated. That's why I'm frustrated. That's why you're frustrated.
About that, actually.
Can I just say, just quickly, Adam, because there's a lot of people in the chat saying Simon Stone said Ollie's safe. Read the bloody article and get a life. He hasn't said he's safe. He basically did a 50-50 thing. He said there's no inclination he's going to go, and then he spoke about if he did go. So stop scaremongering. He may well stay because the club is completely incompetent, but let's not ruin people's Sunday evening when their Monday morning might get ruined anyway. Let's at least live in hope that there might be some incompetence. But just before you say something, Adam, because I'll forget, what Levin said is absolutely spot on. The way, if we're seeing what I mentioned before, where Manchester United are employing people to do tweets for players that are basically algorithm led, so that there's a bit of a negativity there, let's put something to make it a positive. If they're doing it for the players, they're 100% doing it for the club. And what they're doing is, it's about how shit can things get and we'll get away with it. What's the tipping point to protests? We want to hover just above that. We don't want protests, but we're not bothered about social media outrage. That's fine because it's social media. They've described social media as hysterical anyway, so they're not bothered about that. So they need to just keep it slight. How much money can we make by pissing the fans off to the limit before it turns into protest? And we want to operate in there. That's where we want to operate in. It's like when I was a kid, and some people used to do like that. We had a biscuit tin. Can I have a biscuit? No, you can't. Mum goes upstairs. Right, I go in the biscuit tin. I have a look how it's laid out. I can take two out there, shake it up. She'll look in and she'll never know. And it's like, how far can you push it until you get caught? And that's what United are doing. They've got the algorithms. They're running the models. It's like, they're being a bit angry. Right. And I think United's away support. I think what they're doing with the Red Army is fantastic. Contrary to what people try and say, I've got nothing against them. I think they're absolutely amazing. I think it's a brilliant thing. But I also think the club use them. And I think when we have a game or a performance and they need to spin it, let's put a clip up of the Red Army in the corner singing a song about Ollie, because that will get people feeling nostalgic and sentimental and happy. We are manipulated by an algorithm. We are manipulated by business people. Unfortunately, on that board, there is nobody who has a day-to-day running of it, because Sir Alex is on the board, but he's not a day-to-day runner. They're not United fans. Ed Woodward's not a United fan. We employ
not a football
people.
fan.
Well, he's not a football fan. We employ people in that club, our head of departments, name whatever you want. Most of them aren't United fans. They're business people. And I'm not talking about the bankers like Ed Woodward and the Glazers. You name a department within United, there's a very high chance that the person running that department has been employed because they've got a CV for it, not because they've got Man United running through their veins. And I just think it's a football club. To be a football club, you need to employ people who care about that football club, who, when they go to work in the morning, want to succeed, not because they want to get a pay rise or get recognition or go on to a better job. They want to succeed because it's like being a doctor or a police officer or a fireman, or you go to work to get paid, but you go to work because this makes a difference. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I'd love to work for Manchester United because I'd be like, I love this club and I'm working for it and I'm there, playing for it, managing it, running the socials, running the communication. United's just soulless in that sense, and it's arrogant, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it's like that. You touched on the social media side of things there, but that going back to like Andy Mitten when he interviewed that fan. I know from people just coming up to me outside the ground and talking to me, the older sort of fans, they don't know the social media side of things, but what they're fed up with, it's like they don't understand how opposition fans can be singing and taking the mick. They feel like the club has lost its respect. Yeah. And that's what hurts them more. There's no respect for Manchester United anymore. They don't know that certain fans chanting a song against United will spread all over social media. Another set of fans will jump onto that. They're not understanding where the club is going. And it's that kind of football fan that the Glazers are trying to wean out. The dedicated fans, they're the ones that are ending up, they're the first ones they want out of the door. It's just got to that point now where no one knows where the club is going. The respect has completely gone for Manchester United on and off the pitch. And it's just put the fans in a position where they're lost. The fans are absolutely lost. A lot of the old school fans especially, I know they'll come up to you and say, it's like, watching it 50 years, it's never been like this. I don't understand it. That's what they keep saying. I don't understand why this and this is happening, but it's that newer generation of fan that the Glazers are looking at.
But the best fan, Adam, you do it as well. You're right. The older fan, the fan, that knows what United's about, they're getting disillusioned. We're getting disillusioned. I think the fans that, I don't think they enjoy it, but the people who probably get the best match day experience that hasn't changed much are those fans who get in the morning, go on a away game, get on a bus together like they have done for years, have a few drinks. They're all mates. It's the camaraderie. It's the songs. I think they still have it. They still do have it. Because
I know a few of them that left at half time at Liverpool game.
Yeah, but I think it's good for them that they have that because they've had that for years and it's not gone completely because that's about the match day experience and being with your mates and being on the bus and everything like that, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we said that the build up to the game's better now. That's the only thing that anyone enjoys anymore. It's the build up to the game. The game they couldn't give a toss about because they know what's coming now.
That 30 seconds yesterday, it was gone. Oh, exactly. I enjoyed talking about preview and, hopefully we're not going to line up like this. Hopefully we're going to get a surprise. Hopefully he's going to, and then he picks the same team and does the same thing and you go, right, this is going to be a hard 90 minutes.
The thing is, though, this is the problem with keeping Ollie in charge. Now it's got to that point where every week, whether I'm watching United at home, I'm watching them away, like I can't get obviously I want United to win, but I can't get excited for the game because I know exactly what's coming. And even if we do manage to scrape a win, there's no longevity in it. And all you want to do is watch your club, have a plan, have a system and know where they're going and get excited to go on that journey with them. But you can't do that now because I know that he has to eventually go. Like there's no coming back from this. But it's just how long is it going to go on? And whoever's in charge, they need to appoint a manager.
Is there a comeback? Sorry, again, Beth, I'm sort of shooting off the hip there. But is there, this is really important. You just prompted it and I want to ask everybody this. Is there a way back for you? Because the club will be thinking, they'll be running the algorithms and they'll be looking at Beth and they'll be looking at Levin and they'll be looking at Adam and they'll be going, right, there's a shirt sale there, there's a season ticket, there's a retweet, there's an interaction, how do we do it? And it's like they want to do that and they probably think fourth place and everything like that. my concern is that I'm going to retain to be Ollie out because he's destroyed the club. The football's crap. The results are crap. We're meant to be in a title race. We're never going to be in that. And I'm not accepting these standards being lowered. For you, how do you get through the next 7 months if it is Ollie? You know, how do you get into that mindset?
I always believe you can change your mind in football because you can watch it and then things can happen that can make you change your mind. But for me personally, I know. I mean, prove me wrong, but I know for a fact Ollie's not going to come and change my mind because I've seen the way he's played the last few weeks, few months. He's not got the ability to. He's not got the ability to, one, get hold of this team because they need someone to come in and really get hold of them. There's a lot of young players in there that need some direction and need proper, strong management. That Ollie isn't that. And plus, he's not got the tactical ability. He's not got the coaches behind him. He's not got anything there, anything. Because from what I've seen, nothing that shows me that he can turn this around. It's like people saying today, the board are expecting to him for one day. He's just going to turn into Klopp or Pep overnight. And he's going to be our Klopp or Pep. He's not got the ability. And that's how I know for a fact, even if he manages to scrape some wins on individual brilliance, I know he's not got the ability to turn into a top class manager. So I know I'll never come back from this. And I know at some point he is going to leave. I mean, the only way that it could come back is that he, through a miracle, he did suddenly become this tactical genius and turned it around and ended up winning a trophy with the club. But I can't see it. And how am I going to get through it? I'm not going to lie. I've been really down about it because, I mean, you're watching the Premier League this season. It's such a good league to watch. And it's so frustrating that we're absolutely nowhere near. Like watching the Liverpool game today and the West Ham game, I was so happy for West Ham, but I was like, don't really affect us anyway because we're not even in the race with Liverpool. Like it's so frustrating, but the only way you can get through it is hope Manchester United win and hope we get Champions League football for the next manager to come in and take over and actually have Champions League football to look forward to next year. Because I believe he will get sacked at the end of this season. Even I don't know if it'll be during the season, but by the end of the season, he has to get sacked. But I'm just worried that if we stick with him, Champions League's going to go, and that'll be the most frustrating thing because I want to watch Ronaldo in the Champions League under a manager that actually has the capabilities to get far into the competition. That's why now, even when we're winning games in the group stages or top of the group, which like Adam said is a crap group, I'm not excited because I know as soon as we face a top team, we're going straight out anyway. As long as we don't end up in the Europa League, that's what I'm looking forward to. And as a United fan, that's not that the standards again on the floor.
Well, he's going to stick with your McFred, isn't he? You know, he's, one thing he's been consistent with this season is he will pick McFred, and if he picks McFred, we saw it with West Ham today. If games are won and lost in the midfield, and he's just not going to. As I said, I mean, the reason I asked that question, I ask it of you as Levin as well. I mean, the fantastic thing about Levin is I have to keep saying this. It was a bit of a will people take to this when you first came on the show? But Levin ended up on the channel because he sent a video clip in, and he basically was a pragmatic Ollie Outer in the summer, which has now become a very perceptive genius Ollie Outer because you didn't need to rant. He just said, I don't believe this manager's ever going to be good enough. So you're probably never going to come back anyway. But how are you going to get through the next 7 months if they do stick with him?
You know what, Mark? I say this a lot on Twitter. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. And so, you know, you sort of laugh it out. You smile through the pain. On a serious note, I've seen Ollie speak, and press conferences from Ollie have never been something where you get a lot of information out. But I always think back to where Karl Anka, asked that brilliant question about philosophy, and he's always done it, Karl Anka, where he's tried to sort of get things out of Ollie in that sort of way. Shout out to Karl Anka. I don't know where he's gone. He's disappeared. We need him back. And the way he answered that, where he talked about, not playing into that whole philosophy and overarching identity nonsense. It's all about, his approach is just win games sort of thing, right? That to me is where I realized, so there really isn't going to be a change. This isn't ever going to have the whole idea of maybe one day he'll just wake up and be Pep, right? Maybe that's a possibility. But that to me said that's never going to happen, right? Because again, I'll link in Ralph Rangnick because I know a lot of people in chat keep spamming it the whole show, right? So I'll keep mentioning things about Ralph Rangnick. Ralph Rangnick has the 3 C's. That's how he builds teams, right? The 3 C's, and it's essentially what's it called? Competence, cash, not cash flow. What was it? Competence. Let me get. I think I had it up here. It's competence. It's cash. It's flipping. I'm forgetting the last one. Someone on the chat's gonna help me here. Capital. Yeah. So confidence, capital, and it's the last one. Concept. I was forgetting concept. And all that is, had a nightmare there. All that is concept, the idea, your philosophy, your overarching philosophy. You come in, regardless of what it is, right? It doesn't matter if you're Pep or Klopp or Tuchel. They all have different things, right? They all have different ideas, but you have to have an idea, right? That you want to ingrain throughout the club. There's obviously competence, which is employing and making sure you have the right people in position to execute that, right? And then capital, which Manchester United of all teams has more of that than anybody, right? And Ollie lacks concept, doesn't have that overarching. He doesn't have, he doesn't. I very much doubt that Ollie has an idea in his head, right, of just how he'd want the perfect game for us to look, right? Like if you ask Ollie, what is the perfect game for a team that you want to build? He wouldn't have that, right? He also doesn't have competence because he's not employed and he's not put the right people in place to get the best results, right? You know, we always talk about the jobs for the boys thing, people who are learning on the job, people who are maybe less experienced or people who haven't shown at the highest level that they can be in a position to be at a big club. And ultimately that's just where, for me, I've gone, yeah, like I'm over it, man. I know what this is, you know, sort of like what Beth said. I know what this is now. How do you get through the next 7 months? So I'm an avid enjoyer of football. I enjoy watching good football. You know, I remember the Ajax against Dortmund. I remember watching that after we had a stinker of a game on the weekend, and you know, it was just good to watch some good football, right?
I watched that. It was so good.
If you're struggling, right? If you get frustrated, I'm not saying go support any other team, right? Never do that. You always support United, but watch some of the, you know, there's plenty of good teams around the world who play good football. Yeah, just go watch teams that you know play good football and just, you know, enjoy watching some good football. Since we're not getting that from United right now.
And the Glazers will love that because we'll still be watching United, buying the shirts and everything, but we'll just be getting our fix elsewhere. I mean, Adam, you're going to be up and down the country watching them for 7 months. I mean,
enjoy.
I just, you know, the thing is though, I remember with Van Gaal, I jumped really early on Van Gaal. It was like Christmas, and I said, get rid of him. It was really early. And I had to put up with it for 4 months of, yeah, get behind your manager, this, that, and the other. And it was just like, got to a point sometimes where I was like, he might bloody survive. He might actually survive, you know, because I think he won the FA Cup and I think he missed out on top 4 by goal difference. So yeah, he might have survived. And I knew Mourinho was waiting. I was like, you know, we've got to get Mourinho. But if he does stay in post, we won't lose every week. We'll maybe go on a run of 3 games and then we'll play someone good, like Beth says. It's unbelievable to me that I'm actually saying this to anybody, considering half the squad don't like him, the favourites ain't good enough and their heads have gone. You know, the title's gone, the football's crap. He's thrown his own system in the bin to try and save his job and go to a back 5. There is just no logical reason to keep the guy. And yet we're talking about keeping him from at least another 7 months. I mean, if he scams 4th, we'll probably keep him for another year. How do we work through this? Because what will happen is he'll win a game. There is fans out there, fair play to them, who are they'll jump on any positive and they'll start getting behind him again. Well, how do you see the next 7 months if they're going to keep with this?
Divorce papers will be out. That's what it will be like. I was a horrible person to be around this morning. Look, I'm an old school fan. I can't help it. It's just the way I am. I was brought up.
There's nothing wrong with Adam. Embrace it.
I'm owning who I am. I'm a nasty man to be around. If United are not doing well, I'm really grumpy, and it affects me. It does. I was brought up going and listening to my granddad and my dad, and how I will get through it is to the old school days of just getting out there with my mates, people who I know, looking forward. Don't get me wrong, I'm privileged to have the opportunity to watch Manchester United week in, week out. I know a lot of people around the world was absolutely jump at what I've got. I'm one of the luckiest people alive, I think, to be able to go and watch my football club every week. And for me, it's all I know. It's everything to me. It affects my week. It just gets in the way of things. I could be planning something that week, and then United will do something, and I'll possibly just forget about that, and I'll be in trouble, as you know. But yeah, honestly, mate, I don't know how we get through it. If Ollie's in charge, it's going to be exactly like you said, then. It's just going to be a bit of a roller coaster. Okay, yes, that's here. Come all the sob stories. Get the violins out, people. I'm not after that at all. It's literally what it is. All United fans will just keep on going and supporting their team. We know this. But it's just a case of, like, you know what, I always say it. I said, don't kid the fans. A bit of honesty from someone at the club every now and then goes a long way.
Yeah.
But it's got to a stage where it's like, even Gary Neville, who lived off that quote, absolutely lived off that quote. You can't kid the fans. You can't kid the fans. It's exactly what you're doing right now, you absolute pleb. It's just, for me, it keeps me going knowing that there's other people with me feeling the same way. That's how I get by. That's what it is. I know I'm with other United fans. I know that we're all struggling together, and afterwards we can all talk about it. And the fact that I'm there helps, mate. If I was at home, oh, God help anyone. If I was on my own trying to deal with this, no chance. I'm lucky that I'm there, and that's where I belong, I'll be honest. I don't belong at home watching football. I belong at the ground, and that's just who I am and how I was brought up. But it's going to be difficult, but you just live in hope that one day that long away journey, like we went to Spurs, and we could actually just enjoy talking about a win and how we actually played. That's all it is. That's all we've got now. Giving up on the season, that anything is going to happen that I wanted to happen. So, yeah, it's just that. That's where we're at. Unless another manager comes in, then that's it. It's not going to change what I'm expecting now this season. I look at it, I go, people will say, 5 points off top 4? I can't help but feel 2 points away from 12th. It's not realistic, and that's where we're at. But, yeah, there's always that chance that something might happen, a bit of hope. There's one game you might actually get a surprise in, and that's it, really. You're thinking, right, okay, at least I know that when Ollie does go, there's a team here that can go to that level. It's just someone coming in who's consistently going to get it out of him. I just want to see something from the players as well, a bit of self-pride sometimes. And you know what? At least I know then a proper manager and a coaching setup will be able to get what I know is in this team. That's why I get so angry, because I know how good this team is and how good these players are. And people say, why are you going in so much on United? I said, because I know they're good. That's it. I know there's something there, and there's that hope that's gonna come up in the odd game here and there. And then I know that when Ollie does eventually go, which he will, that next man coming in will be able to get these players to the next level. And that's it, really. The word hope probably came up more than any in there, and that's probably what it is really now.
I think it's actually cynically deliberate. I think this is just about lowering the expectation. The fact that all three of you've spoken about how you get through it, and the reality is you shouldn't have to get through it at a football club. And I think they've done it on purpose. And I think it's about algorithms, and I think it's about money, and I think it's about, if you want to win the league, you've got to spend another 100 million to do it, and they don't want to do that, but they do want to be in the top 4. And I think basically what they're doing is they're grinding down the standards of this football club to a point where fans will accept 4th place and shit football. And I think that's what the plan has always been. And I will personally not accept it. So I'll just keep moaning about it. I might end up moaning on my own, but I'm not accepting it. I'm not accepting it at all. I think it's a disgrace that a football club like this is like this. But I think Adam's spot on. I remember going to a match when I was really young, and there was some really bad swearing at a player going on. You know, people think it only happens on social media. This was in the late 80s, and they were shouting, swearing, this bloke was at this player. And I said to my dad, "Oh my God!" And he said, "You know what? He works hard. He probably works hard all week, and football's his release." And that's the thing. You know, football is our release, and you know, they're deprived. I said this earlier as well. I think I was doing the watch along That's Football, watching the Liverpool game, and I said, it's never nice to want somebody to get the sack, but in any walk of life, if somebody's incompetent, they should get the sack. You know, if the swimming pool attendant goes and puts bleach in the pool instead of chlorine and everyone gets burnt, he should get the sack. You know, he might have a wife and kids at home and he might not have a lot of money, but he should still get the sack. It's incompetent. And if I wake up in the morning and United have done what they need to do and sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'll be happy. Not because Ole's been sacked, but because I'll be like, oh my God, who's coming in now that's new that might give us some hope? I just want to enjoy Manchester United, and I don't enjoy it at the moment. And people say, well, fuck off and support somebody else. That's not how support works. Still going to watch Manchester United, but do not enjoy it. I find them, I genuinely think that this is the worst we've been since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Because, all right, we've had glimpses of good football under Ole, and there's been good times, but I've never felt as fed up as this. And I don't remember Van Gaal, Mourinho or Moyes inflicting the last 2 weeks on us, which have just been embarrassing.
Well, this is the thing about lowering the standards. When Van Gaal got sacked after that FA Cup win, like, I think he deserved to get sacked, and he got sacked. But now, if Ollie did that, there'd be posts on social media, there'd be, oh my God.
We sacked a man who won the FA Cup
manager.
The day after.
If Manchester United were a serious footballing club, they would have sacked Ollie. Would have sacked Ollie after the Liverpool game. That was when his time was up. That was when it was. They would have got someone in, either Conte, if that's the way they were going to go, or they would have got a decent interim to transform the club. They would buy a decent CDM, a good CDM in January, and then they would appoint a proper manager at the end of the season if they didn't want Conte. Fair enough if that's not the direction you want to go in, but you would appoint a proper manager in the summer, and you would try and turn this team around. You would not come out on social media every week, keep saying the same crap and doing nothing about it. It's so frustrating. It honestly is, because it's, like you said, like, we're such football people and Manchester United is our footballing club, but we have no control over it, and that's the worst part. And like Adam said, it's literally missed opportunities, because for me, this is the best squad we're probably going to have in a while, and we've had in a while, and it's such a missed opportunity. I mean, Ronaldo's back, for God's sake, and it still can't make them do anything about it. It's frustrating as anything.
It really is. I mean, how do you spoke about this before, how do you buy Ronaldo, create the biggest buzz around the club in a decade, and then pop it in a week?
Manchester United.
You know what? Would they financially be any worse off in really committing to the football side of Manchester United?
No, they would earn
that's
money
what
back.
that's what I was talking about earlier, Adam. Like, I was talking about earlier, I don't get it, because you literally would just be better off. And that's why when you made the point about the Super League, a part of me did go, maybe that actually is, sort of the actual reasoning, because I think a lot of people might not want to accept it, but something along the lines of the Super League is an inevitability at this stage, right? Where American owners, not just American owners, actually, I'm not going to do that because I know people get upset about that, but it's just like owners of football teams now are realizing, and I think the American owners helped by going, hold on a minute, we got our sports leagues in America, which don't have as much fans as your sport, but yet we're making way more money. Like, what you guys doing? Like, you got to make football better. And I think to that point, it's almost like that. And so it reminds me of, with like Mike Ashley at Newcastle, where it's like, because he knows he's trying to get rid of the club, he's not trying to like do too much. He's not trying to invest too much, right? He's not trying to, he's keeping it as minimal as possible because realistically he wants to get rid of it. It's almost like they don't commit to the football side because it's like, we're going to have a Super League soon. So then when we're in the Super League, then we can reset everything, or then we can go on with everything we want to do. It's like, it's very much, it doesn't make, I really want somebody, if there is somebody who is like an expert in these kind of things, if you've been like an executive for a football team before, something like, please just contact me and let me know, what is it that would make them just not want to improve the football side of the club? Like, the people are out there to do that. It's not like these people aren't out there, right? It doesn't make sense. I don't get it.
Bought on debt to make money. Simple as that.
The worst part is they probably actually think that that's what they're trying to do, but because they're so out of touch, like they don't actually realize, or they don't even want to realize it. I don't get it.
Well, the Solskjaer always says that the Glazers are good people. Even when them fans broke into Carrington after the Super League, he apparently said to them, they're good people. I just think, unfortunately, a club legend has become a puppet to people who aren't football fans, who bought us on debt to make money. And Ollie's been put in place perfectly. What a recruitment, a legend that everybody loves to shield them from what they're really up to. And in the absence of success, you have to assume that they're only here to rip off the club and get the money out of it. But look, they've got an opportunity tomorrow morning to show us that they're not about that. But no other football club in the Premier League, no other Premier League club would take him, and no other Premier League club wouldn't have sacked him. So
Championship, mate.
Well, yeah,
One
maybe
game.
even Championship club. We may as well be Stoke. I've said that a few times. That's how we're operating. But look, we could talk and talk and talk. At the moment, we don't know. I hope something happens tomorrow, and we live in hope. But if not, we're in for a painful run up to Christmas, I think.
Oh man, it's just we're gonna have an international break to get through, with no football and that City game just running
But you know
around
what? The
in our
share
minds.
price was at its highest when Jose Mourinho first came in. Imagine if they sacked Solskjaer tomorrow and brought a Zidane in who's actually free. You haven't got to pay Leicester for Rodgers. The club mood, expenditure, everything would. This is what I don't get. Like, and Pogba might sign a new contract, so you don't have a player walking out the door for free. You know, Donny van der Beek might stay. Martial might stay. You know, Telles might become valuable instead. Amad Diallo, you might get your potential out. I don't understand why they won't sack him, because there's loads of players that are valuable that might want to stay if we change it. We'll go up the league. Fan interest will come up massively. You know, everything, whether it's football-based or business-based, will go up if they sack him. And yet they're keeping with him. It doesn't actually make sense either way when you look at it, but, you know.
No, it was like when we were talking before the Ronaldo deal about possibly going City. It's like when you broke it all down, he was like, it makes more sense for us to get him for every party involved in this. It actually will earn the Glazers a fortune. It will make us better. It will bring the fans back on side. It's the same with this right now. It's like everyone can go back to loving Ellie again and watch his clips from the football years. You know what I mean? We're thinking he tried, but the longer he stays in, the worse it gets for him, the worse it gets for the futures of Carrick in his future in the game.
Yeah, you're right.
It's little
the toxicity between for those people
this is it.
Is growing by the day.
Exactly, that is part of it. And you want to just say, look, I love Carrick, I love Solskjaer. As a fan, it's absolutely destroying us.
What about the players, though? I mean, look, Harry Maguire.
Said it,
You know, there's players getting absolute pelters. The only way it can get better for them is if they play well. They're not going to play well under Ollie. You know, if Ollie's gone and we play Watford and Harry Maguire has a good game and everyone goes, it was clearly the coaching, good old Harry, the captain. It's not good for anybody for this to continue. I said this morning, if I was a player, I'd be speaking to my agent to speak to the bloody chief executive and say, when are you going to sack this manager? Like, everybody needs to do their part to get this change, because otherwise we're just going to keep sinking.
And everyone's going to go down with the captain of the ship, because that's it. Like I said, then Carrick, forget about Phelan, his career is well and truly gone. But you know what I mean? There's a possibility there that you've got someone with a football brain of Carrick being completely wasted under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know what I mean? He should be going away now, doing like what Wayne Rooney's doing at Derby, just learning his trade.
Yeah.
But he's stuck at United. And it's just going to, like I said, it works so well just to let him go now. It works well for the Glazers. I don't understand why, like you said. And if the Glazers are as brutal as everyone says they are, then this would be done. It would be done because they're seeing potential. And let's not forget about how far we could fall with players that will go with it. And then you're talking about the Adidas deal and stuff like this. Sponsors, it will start to affect things, as we already know. And it just makes sense now while the season is salvageable. And it is salvageable because we all know what players we've got and what squad we've got. And we've got some of the best young players we've had in a while coming through right now who can't get anywhere near. And you know what? It may just take that one change just to spark everything into that. And it's not going to affect the Glazers' pockets one bit, because it's bringing a manager in the middle of a season, or bringing someone in who's not going to want to spend a lot of money because they can't, because there's nowhere near a window. It just works in so many ways. And they can't say they didn't give him a chance. They give him longer than anyone, Sir Alex Ferguson. It just works. You know what I mean? He said, Ole, thank you. You had a go. You took us to this level. Time for someone else to move in. Simple as that. Everyone moves on, and hopefully someone else comes in who can take us to that next level. Finances stay the same, if not better, like you said, Mark, and it's only going to give the players a boost and, like I said, a bit of excitement in the stands of something new coming in. And I don't understand why, but only the people in their positions who have got egg on their face are looking at this right now thinking it's the wrong move to make. But seriously, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't happen. I think it's better for every party.
Okay, everyone. Well, we could talk and talk and talk. I just realised we've been going on a long time, but it's that sort of time. Thanks for coming on, Levin.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's been a pleasure as always. Hope you guys all have a good week. And to people who still think I use a voice changer, you're a loser.
Exactly. I don't. We've met him in real life.
I can put on a voice. Do you actually want to hear a voice changer? I have like a soundboard. Wait, let me put on some effects. Look. Yo, my name's Levin, and I'm a robot. You know, I can put stuff on. Let me buy you a drink. Ooh, I'm gonna take you home with me.
We're going places I never thought we were going to go tonight. This is what it's doing.
Man United has sent you mad, Levin.
Ben, thanks for coming on.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And Adam.
Cheers, guys. Pleasure. I'm just blown away by that finish there.
Thanks everyone for watching. We will be back tomorrow. Look, I'm hoping we're going to get it. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video, and we will speak. I've got Paul Ince on tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Oh, don't worry, I'll wind him up as well. We'll get some lines out of him. If Michael Owen can go mad, imagine what Paul Ince can do. A proper bloody ex-United player. Anyway, speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.